In this video, I'm going to tell you how to thrive in case society collapses. Why am I doing this video right now? You must imagine that, considering all the things that have been happening to the world since early this decade, many shifts have been occurring. We've had pandemics, we have had new wars rising up, and the climate changes and stuff like that. Those are real threats, and anything can happen at this point. Many changes will happen in the future, so if things crumble, will you be ready to handle that? That is the big question. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to be ready for those things, and how is this relevant in the topic of the channel. How is this relevant to shadow work and nutrition? When it comes to nutrition, like, in case the society collapses, you wouldn't be eating the same way as you eat today. Like, there will be no processed foods, at least when it comes to foods that require some machinery to be made. Because if you go to the supermarket, you see foods where behind before they were made, they went through multiple processes until they were packaged and then sent to the supermarket. In case society collapses, after those foods are completely gone, when the shelves in the supermarkets are empty, you will be relying only on whole foods basically. So, and what should you eat? There will be no doctors for you. I mean, there will be, but some people have the knowledge of doctors. But if society collapses, perhaps all companies collapse with that, and it will be chaos. You must be healthy, you must be ready to endure anything that happens. So I'm going to tell you all about in that side of life. And regarding shadow work, right now, when it comes to modern society, like, they say society right now is advanced, but it is not. Society right now is a parody of what it could be. And I'm going to give just one example, because this could be a topic alone for a video. Like, modern society right now, even though there were all these technological developments, it's missing a big thing. Like, we forgot the foundations of life. If all technology ceases to exist, how will people survive? People don't know how to hunt, how to harvest food, how to get water, how to purify water, all those things. People don't know. They are cut out from the source of life. They just go to the supermarket, they buy food, they buy water, and that's it. If all the companies were to fall, people wouldn't know how to handle these things. And this is why I'm doing this video, because in the future it may happen and you wouldn't know how to handle this. But now I'll give some foundations for you to work with, and perhaps after watching this video you'll be ready for when such things happen eventually. So, right now, what scenarios do we have on the table? What could happen to the world that would create a societal collapse? Well, there's a few things that have been cooking lately. Well, I've mentioned pandemics. People say that climate changes will melt some ice in the North Pole, South Pole, and when that ice melts, that will release some viruses, ancient viruses, that will be really tough to handle for humans. And that means your immune system must be ready for that. And right now, considering we had a pandemic right now, which people, I've listened to both extremes, like people which are apparently healthy dying from the corona, and people, healthy people, healing themselves with just one raw onion and 2 3 days of rest and being ready back to work. Like, if that best case scenario extreme situation can occur, that means if worse viruses would come, that means the results will be much devastating, because the immune system of the people in the world right now isn't very good, and that's just one evidence about that. Where else? We got wars, like right now, even though there are many wars around the world that are very, I wouldn't say quiet when it comes to the awareness of people, but because the best avenue for people to know about which wars are happening around the world is the TV news. Excuse me. And right now, people, when I make this video, basically only know about Ukraine, Russia, and it's a war that's happening in more mainstream countries, let's call it them that way, and we see other threats looming, like there are nuclear warfares looming. Hopefully we won't reach that scenario, even though there may be some things that could make that scenario not exist in the future, but we'll get there next. But yeah, war is another possibility. There's also climate changes like droughts, floods, extreme weather scenarios. Those you can see in the world, like the ice caps are melting. Many changes are happening climate-wise, and it will happen more and more in the future as we go. No one's doing many relevant things to stop that, but perhaps we don't really have the power, because I won't touch this matter that much, but let's just say that perhaps what we know isn't what is. Either way, the last and the scenario I'll use in this analysis will be regarding the sun, because the sun has become more powerful. Like, the records show that solar storms have been intensifying to a really big degree, and the solar activity will be even greater in the future. And I'd say the sun will be responsible for technology to fall. Like, technology is susceptible to being taken out by a strong impulse from the sun, and in this analysis we will go with it as if the sun destroyed all technology, which in some degree that would be good, because that would mean that the weapons being used by certain countries and stuff, they wouldn't be used. So yeah, I'd rather, in the best worst scenario would be the sun destroying technology. It's better than having humans like nuking everywhere. That would be much worse. Anyway, so what to do to thrive in case technology ceases to exist? Well, if you want to dive deeper on this topic of survival, I would recommend, when it comes to literature, there's a guy called Cody Lundin, which made a few books about survival. He's quite legit, so it's interesting to see his methods and stuff like that. They'll be very useful in such scenario. And I'll structure this analysis based on a pyramid he did. You may know about the Maslow's pyramids of needs. This will be similar, as I will go through some essential aspects and then go to the least essential but still important parts of survival. So one thing you need to do is like have a game plan. You need to prepare. You need to get ready for when things happen. You see those guys in America, like they have bunkers and lots of canned food. Like that's their way to prepare, and that's better than nothing. I'm not sure how that will be useful. We don't know how things will unfold. Like if a volcano explodes, if an earthquake happens, those things may get destroyed, and all the hard work will go down the drain. You never know. It's a possibility. But at least those people have something ready for any eventuality. And yeah, I'll tell you next my take on this, what to do. And after you have everything set up, you need to know how to maintain what you built. And that's also an important aspect because this is a plan that has many stages. Preparation is first, then witnessing how things unfold, getting like mentally and physically ready for any situation is another stage of the plan, and then maintaining what you've built is another. So you also need to know about your environment, what surrounds you. Like you don't know, in case society collapses, you don't know if any tornado is about to come. There won't be any alerts. You won't know whether people around you will be hostile or not because food and water will be scarce. So you must defend your turf. It will be really bad if you get to that point, but in case you do, you must defend yourself. But like, let's try to avoid those chaotic TV movie scenarios. The ideal thing to do is for you to like to be mindful and perhaps gather a community around you and being friendly to everyone, perhaps help each other build resources and stuff like that, and raising awareness to the people so that in case things crumble, they will know what to do together with no hostility. That's very important. And perhaps, for example, in case there were, I don't know, if you live on a coastal area, in case, let's say the climate is like really, really, really terrible. If there were like predictions of earthquakes and tsunamis, like it will come handy to have a system where some ally will be on the lookout for signs in the water, just in case tsunami could come. Like you never know, and develop like a system, a sound system, like some sort of drums or or something like that, where in case someone spotted something fishy, they could warn the rest of the community, and you could go to a shelter and protect yourselves the best you can. So yeah, that's one aspect of this thrival in a society collapse, is for you the people to be united and not against each other, like the dumb wars going around the world somewhere. Meanwhile, going back to the hierarchy of needs, according to Cody Lundin, one thing you must be mindful about is positive attitude. Like if you go towards something with a negative mindset, like that's halfway through being defeated right there. You need to be confident that things will work out the best they can, and okay, there's a possibility they won't, but if you do what you can for them to be the best, if you do your best and if you feel like you are doing your best, then the possibility of things going wrong, it will be smaller. So yeah, that's one aspect of this. If any ally of yours is feeling in a bad mood, like in a negative mood, like you as a leader, or even if you aren't a leader, you can become one and be there for a really motivational speech. You can motivate them to rise up of the ashes, and let them know that they still can fight and that there's a fight they can win, and you will help them win. That's very important. Motivate everyone around you, and even if if the chaos is there, sometimes during times where there's not much to do, you can have fun with them playing some games, board games for example, and yeah, it's very important not to always focus on the disasters, but also focus on the good things around you. That balance is still needed, just like in your daily routine right now. So yeah, be mindful of that. And when it comes to the positive attitude, you'll have that covered if you do this. Regarding maintenance, going back to what I said earlier, uh, perhaps you should make a list of stuff you need to have, just in case for a stock. Like it doesn't have to be food, but like some resources like ladders, uh, monocules. I'm not sure how how the word is in English, but some utensils you'll need in case, I don't know, many scenarios can occur, and the more tools you have at home at your disposal, the best. So the next stage of the pyramid, and I won't pretend I'm Cody Lundin because he goes on these topics much deeper, but I'm just giving you here some surface-ish level tips for you to know what to do. And the next layer is like dressing, oxygen and sleep and water. About clothes, like due to health, you should use clothing with natural materials like cotton. There's stuff like polyester and stuff like that, but polyester long term it may cause you some lung damage because the fibers are synthetic and they release some spores or stuff like that, and they will cause damage in you. So avoid that. If society collapses, you won't have like hospitals and doctors. So get ready for the absence of that by using things that won't harm you. However, despite this fact, you should dress according to the environment you live in. So like if you live in a really cold environment, you must dress lots of layers of clothes. Like prioritize survival, then look at those details, look at how things are made, and use the things that won't cause long time damage. And because there's also the possibility to go fishing and go out in the sea, perhaps it would be a good idea to find some locations where they have those inflatable swim vests, so when you go to the sea you are ready to stay above surface water, because accidents happen. If you are on a boat, the boat may get a hole and you all sink, but if you have the vest you won't drown. And in a survival perspective, there wouldn't be anyone for to help you. You'll be all on your own, unless you have a partner around. But even if the partner ends up drowning too with you, you need a plan B, and that's the plan B, having an inflatable swim vest. So yeah, dress according to the occasion, and you'll be good in that regard. So there's also the oxygen part. Like I don't think this will be very important. Like one good thing in the dark will be the fact that there will be no cars around, there will be no pollution, unless some volcano erupts and will contaminate the air with ashes and other toxic smokes. In which case you will need to have some stuff like gas masks. That will be really good for your lungs to stay free from any ashes and stuff like that. In the desert, that will be good too. But in the event of a sandstorm, perhaps having something to cover your face and nose, that may be a tissue or something like that. So yeah, there's not much to talk about this aspect. The air will be much cleaner in that point. So yeah. When it comes to sleep, well, I would say that you have like two options here. Like everyone goes to sleep at night, like nature works that way. Right now is sunny, as you can see the light in this side of your screen, but at night it's supposed to be the timing for sleep, for rest. But there will be the potential scenarios where some guys will start plotting against you, perhaps, because we never know if you don't have allies, and in case everyone is trying to survive, like they will do anything to survive, and those situations can occur. And if you have more than one person at home, perhaps the other option, instead of everyone sleeping together, like if you live in a household like where your house can be heavily protected against intruders, like that will be fine if you go all to sleep together at night. But in case there will be a scenario where intruders could enter your house, perhaps it would be a good idea to have someone perhaps it will be okay if someone would still be on the lookout for something fishy around, and while others would sleep, that person will stay awake and be ready to warn others in case something happens. And in the event of climate events, in case, I don't know, a storm comes up, or if you live on the coastal area, if you can see the sea and you see something weird, having someone at night ready to warn people, that will be okay. Yeah, I think that's it for this topic. And it's also really important when eventually or not society collapses, it's important for you to rest so your health maintains on a good state. Okay, the part of the food and water that may be more scarce, but at least sleep is something you may be able to cover very well if you are ready to cover all those things I mentioned about this topic. So now the final aspect of the second bottom layer of the pyramid is water. One of the most important, because we need water. We are made 70% of us made of water, so you need a source of water. And right now, like there's rainwater, there's lake water, there's well water, spring water, there's sea water. Like there's many potential places where you can get water, even though there are some places where you cannot get it very easily, like in the desert. But you need to find a source of water that's reliable. And after you do, you need to know whether it's ready to be consumed. Like, is it safe? Is it clean enough? Like, one good idea would be to boil water. If you boil water, you can kill anything that is swimming in the water, like microorganisms that would harm you. There are some interesting utensils, like where you have let's imagine this is a glass of water, and there's a copper wire, because when water is boiling, the steam goes up, then goes right to the wire, to the copper tube or whatever. I'd recommend not being copper, because like it's better if it's glass as well. Either way, steam goes through the tube, then it condensates and the water drops fall in another recipient, and in that way this one will have good water that is ready to be drank. And because that boiled water may lack minerals, it will be a good idea to have something to replenish minerals in the water, like perhaps some herbs, like make some sort of tea, or like, I don't know, there are many alternatives. Basically, you want to infuse the water with something that adds something to the water, because if the water lacks minerals, then when you drink it. It will draw minerals out of your body, and you don't want to be dehydrated because of that. You want your body in extreme scenario to work the best way as possible, and you need minerals. Period. So I'd say that's a must do. But in case your resources are scarce, if you don't have a way to do that, then okay, drink the water like that. It's better than nothing, perhaps. At least you get some H2O. Okay. Where else? You can also infect that with povidone iodine. It's like those iodine tinctures you put in wounds. Let's say you cut your finger and you put that in your finger and it infects the area. Basically, it's the same principle with water. I'm not sure about the amount of drops you put there, but it's something you do to disinfect the water to make it safe for consumption. And yeah, that's another way to disinfect the water. And I must tell you that the two best sources of water are spring water and well water. The earth mineralized that water, and so it's the best water for your body to get everything it needs to get from water. And there's also other ways to get safe water, but these are the most basic ones I have to add. I recommend you to research more about this topic and perhaps buy the Cody Lundin's books where he teaches more about this aspect, because you want to be ready, and this topic right here is very important. You don't want to go wrong with that. Now to the third bottom layer of the pyramid. We got food, shelter and sanitization. Well, let's talk about food. Nutrition, yeah. In the event of a societal collapse, there won't be supermarkets, or rather, the supermarkets will be there, but as soon as everything gets taken, there won't be anything to replace what was taken. So you will need to find another way. And what ways do you have to get food? If you live in a coastal area, you can go fishing. You can get ready to fish. You can, I don't know, perhaps get a rod, get some bait, search for some worms or whatever. Get some boat and you go to the sea or go to near some rocks by the sea and go get through the fishing rod to the water and see if something happens. It's not that reliable because the fish may be hidden somewhere else in the sea. You may not get a bite in the bait, so that could be complicated. So the best case scenario right here will be for you to grow your own food. I read a statistic. I'm not sure whether it was 10 by 10 or 100 by 100, but I think it's 10 by 10. I think it was 100 square meters of land for you to survive in a single year, in case there is no food elsewhere. If you have a 10 by 10 land or 100 square meters of land available to you, if you grow food in all of that land, you'll have food for one full year. So you can make some maths, and if your family has 6 people, then you'll need 600 square meters of land and crops growing there for you to feed your family for 1 year. And just assuming that no disasters happen that would cause your crops to be killed. So yeah, growing your own food is important in this scenario. You'll need to learn. And 2 foods you can grow as a priority, because if you grow these 2 foods, you will get all nutrients from them alone, which are tomato for vitamin C, which is the only nutrient the food I'm about to say doesn't have, and the other foods are eggs. So tomatoes seem to be easy to grow, Right now I have a potted plant which is harvesting, which has one or two tomatoes there, so you can grow easily tomatoes. But regarding the eggs, that's a bit harder because you need some animals. The animals also need to eat. They also need to be healthy. You need to know what to do with them to stay healthy every time. They need to have something to eat. So the most obvious example will be chicken. Uh, I know chicken. They eat like, of course, they can eat stuff like corn, like modern society does, but they also eat worms and stuff like that for protein. So yeah, you need food for yourself and something for chicken other than bugs. And I don't know if they eat some bits of grass. Of course, they eat seeds too, but I don't know how your soil in your land, in case you have land in your house. I don't know what's the environment there, but if it has a nice variety for chicken to stay healthy there, so that will be good. Yeah, you also need to give priority to the foods that grow well in your unique environment. Like, of course, if you live in a tundra, it will be hard to harvest something. I heard that adaptogenic herbs can grow pretty much everywhere because they adapt. They are adaptogenic. It's in their nature to be able to grow anywhere. So, in those really harsh cold places, those will be one option to farm. And I'd say getting some animals. I know that in places like Alaska they go hunt for deers and stuff like that, and then they put the animal in somewhere where the meat doesn't go rotten, so they can have food throughout all of winter. That's how they do it. They already mastered this type of lifestyle, so yeah. The only problem is that perhaps in the future they wouldn't be able to use stuff like cars and to transport the animal. They'll need to to use something else, like those shopping carts from the supermarkets. So I also recommend for you to know how to actually be able to get proper nutrition, like the basic principles of nutrition, like eating according to blood type, food combination, stuff like that. Because if you do those and you follow them strictly, then your health won't go bad because of that. And self mastery is important when it comes to nutrition. Knowing what your body rejects, what your body accepts, that is important. And it is even more important here where there will be basically no hospitals, no doctors to take care of you. I want you to ask yourself one question. How would your lifestyle be if there were no hospitals, no doctors? Like, modern society has like it's sugar all the time, it's processed foods, it's stuff that causes their health to get worse, and they have as plan B their doctors. They give them stuff like pills and stuff like that. There's exams, but in this scenario that will be gone. So you don't want to get to a point where you'll be required to get some medical assistance to be healed. So food, how you eat, and knowing what you are doing in this context is very important to avoid such situations. And I'd say the other day I saw a very interesting information that was like Ayurvedic principles regarding diagnosis by looking at your tongue. Your tongue, there are certain zones in your tongue that are related to some organs, and if you gain that knowledge, you will know where are your weaknesses in your body and in other people's bodies. It's somewhat like iridology, which is a science I don't know that much about, but I will. where you look at someone's iris and you will know what's going on within their bodies, and in that way you can take action and change your diet, your lifestyle, so you can heal whatever is weakened right in that moment. I think you can do that with teeth as well. Like certain teeth also indicates how your health is regarding some organs. It's all connected. You are your physical body is all connected, so it's important to know all these hints so you are ready to know what's going on in case there's something not going so well in your body. So what else? Shelter. For shelter, I'd say you need basically three requirements. You need a house with land around, so you can have some animals to give you food, to feed them, and where you can grow some crops, as I said earlier in the food section of the video. So you also need to have a place that is like a fortress to prevent intruders away, either wildlife that would end up jumping around your fences and take your chicken away, for example, or people like have like I don't know, some well locked doors and stuff like that. Basically, have a place that you and yours alone can be there. And if you need to go outside to get some more resources, you can do so and get back in easily without any concerns. It's very important. And in case you don't really have a shelter, well, basically you can find somewhere. You can find, for example, an hotel. Like if society collapses, basically hotels would be places with no one around. You could get a room, find the key. Actually, the keys nowadays they are cards. I don't really think they use manual keys anymore. But yeah, hotels would have no one around, so you could get in there, get a room, try to keep that place isolated, and in case you need to go somewhere else, yeah, you'll find hotels, and I think that will be a safe place for you to stay. So the next topic is sanitization. I don't know that much about this topic, but well, we all use toilets, like we pee, we poop, and we push a button, the water flushes everything away. And I'd say we need to follow something that goes along with the same principles. I don't know how the sewage system would work with no one around to have maintenance on that. Perhaps at least for a few months, years, everything will be okay. But what if the things that flush the toilet will get clogged? How would you fix that? That will be an issue. So I think if people lived near a river, I think they would go pee and poop around the river, so that people would then collect the water and and drink poop and pee in the drinking water. That's why it's so important for you to boil the water, so you can separate the nasty things from the good things. So yeah, basically, in the events of no sewage system, you basically find a place, or basically put your poo and pee in some hole, and the nature will take care of that, I guess. That's the best I can say for that, about that for now. So the middle layer of the pyramid is all about lighting, self-defense, and first aid. So lighting, of course, at night you can see anything, so you need light during the night in case you want to explore the darkness of the world. So as I pick this glass, the light reflects on the glass, and it reminds me you can during the day have some mirrors spread around your house. So, like, let's imagine you live in a place where it's below ground. Like, if it's below ground during the day, you won't see anything. If there's no windows, nothing. So, other than fire, how can you light up the whole place? Uh, as I drank some water, perhaps you got to the answer. Basically, you could place some mirrors accordingly. Of course, there will be an issue because the sun moves, so you will need to reposition the mirrors so the light keeps reflecting to the same places. But basically, a mirror system will come in handy so it reflects the light of the sun to that room, so it can light up the darkness. What else? Basically, the second aspect of this is fire. How to set the woods around you on fire. Well, in the early days of the collapse, you could have some matches, like in the intro of my videos, the matches to light up the fire, and then you can have some big torches or stuff like that. And yeah, basically here the best the thing that requires the best learning is learning how to set fire. Other than that, the mirrors, that is an easy solution depending on the mirrors you have in your house or around you. I don't know, like, there are those tiny mirrors where you can flip the thingy, and that will be helpful. But in case the mirrors you have in your area, if they are like glued to the wall, that will be harder. But I'm sure you can go around with that, because there's also stuff like CDs and other materials that can reflect light to other places. So it's a matter of using what you've got for your best advantage, and I'm sure you'll be fine with that. What else? I'd say self-defense here. Basically, you need two things as well. For a less direct approach, you need to have a fit body. Like, you can work out to gain muscle and to stay agile in case you need to run or fight something or someone. You could do some martial arts, and that's the most important part of this topic. Like, you need to know if someone is starting to choke you out, how can you get out of that submission move. Like, people can do that, it's possible to do that. And in case you get in a fight, you need to know how to respond appropriately, and you need to defend yourself because it's your life at stake. And while I don't want you to to take your opponent's life away, you need to still protect yourself. So you can knock him out for a while, so you can run away. There are those options, and act accordingly, and learn about that, because it's an important topic as well. In an ideal world, that would be needed, but in an event where people will be desperate for resources, this is something I'd say you need to learn and do in case something happens. Last but not least, for this middle layer of the pyramid, you have first aid. Well, there are those first aid kits where you can have some tools to disinfect and stuff, band-aids, etc. I say it's also important to know what to do in case someone is having a heart attack or stuff like that. How to position the person to have the blood flowing. There's the mouth-to-mouth breathing in case someone is choking, and yeah, those things are are very important, and I don't think I think this is also another layer that people in modern society don't know much about, but they should, because it's still related to survival, and learning this and knowing how to apply may make the difference between life and death. So the next topic, the third to upstairs, the further upper layer in the pyramid is communications. Well, in case technology will cease to exist, that will be a really difficult thing to handle. Well, how do you communicate with someone that is like far away with no technology? In case you have some sort of, in case they are in range to hearing some distinct sound you can make, like earlier I mentioned the drums, in case there will be a tsunami warning or stuff like that. Perhaps the same logic would apply here, but that's not very effective. If everyone would apply such principle, then how can people know if they were trying to communicate with you or if someone else? They will not know. So there's also that part of the topic where you can, I don't know, if you are following a certain trail, you can leave certain marks on the floor or drop some objects so they know you have been there. And yeah, I think basically in this topic that's all I have to say about. I don't think there's much more to add to this. There's also, this isn't exactly related to communication, but regarding the location you are in, perhaps knowing how to read the stars in the sky at night, it would be useful. Like the Navy back then at least will be able to do that. So yeah, I don't the compass, I don't know, in case the sun will mess around with the magnetic system of the earth, the compasses, I don't think they will be working very well. So yeah, I think the stars will be a more reliable method for you to learn to know about the location. And even though it isn't directly a topic related to communications, it's somewhat is, because if you are trying to get into a destination, the stars, and if you have a map, for example, well, there's maps everywhere. If you are trying to go from A to B, and if you don't know where you are, if you look at the stars, and if you perhaps have a map, you can roughly orientate yourself to going towards the right direction and be closer to your destination. So the second top layer of the pyramid is cooking. Well, cooking, what can you cook? You can cook beans, for example, if you don't have anything else to eat. Like you can't really use anything. You must cook beans or grains like quinoa, etc. And some people also use cooking to remove any bacteria from the food, even though that's debatable, because life as we know, that there's been lots of raw foods, even foods that aren't, according to modern society, be eaten raw, but they are by many people, and they are okay with that. It fits in their bodies very well. They thrive with that, because, for example, raw meat, raw eggs, people are repulsed by that usually. But I know some examples of people who are eating that and thriving even more than with cooked foods, because with raw foods, the nutrients inside the foods aren't destroyed by cooking. If you boil the water, for example, just a generic example, if you boil water, the water will go from liquid to steam. You'll break the connections between the oxygen and hydrogen, and like it will turn something else while being the same, but it's not exactly the same, because physically it became different. So it's somewhat the same with nutrients. You are tearing them apart, and it won't be the same. Nutrition wise, it's better if you eat something raw than something cooked, just like that. Unless you know the scenarios of the beans, like you can't eat the beans raw, and there are some foods where I think eating up some things will destroy some nasty parts of the food. So in that sense, that's okay to cook. Else, well, you can eat raw. There's vegetables, fruits. You eat those raw usually. I mean, in modern society, you eat cooked vegetables, but you can eat them raw as well. So yeah, that's it for this part. And for the last part of the video, there's the transportation. Uh, Basically, in case there was no, if there was no technology, you couldn't use your car. So yeah, you would have to find a way to get something from point A to point B. And if you live near a supermarket, you can use the supermarket cards. And basically that's it. I don't think there's any better way to break down this topic. If you want to lift heavy objects, well, you could get a system where some pipes are below the object, and by having them roll and roll, you could transport that heavy object by yourself, kinda. I'm not sure how good that could be by doing that alone. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's pretty much the only way to carry really heavy things without having to call your friends around. And I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted. So to recap things, to remember why you should do these things, like you can't forget why you're alive. Like to stay alive, you need to know how to survive. And to survive, you need to know what to do to survive. And people nowadays don't, because we live in a society where it's basically, if I were to use an analogy, see it as if society was like a person in an hospital bed connected to the machines. Like if you turn the machine off, the person dies. It's basically the same thing. If the machine technology that takes the foods to the supermarkets and all that stuff, if all of that collapses, people, I mean, they will die if they don't know what to do, because they will not be able to survive without going to the supermarket and pick the stuff. There will be people who will survive, but many wouldn't, because they wouldn't know the basics of survival. But with this video, now you know what to explore, what to know, what to learn. I've given you here some hints on what to do. I've told you how to connect the dots. And right now, if you care about the future, because I'd say that it's inevitable for one of the 4 scenarios to happen in the future. Either sun destroying technology, climate changes, there's war, there's diseases, pandemics. Like, the future is going to be a test. And if you are an astrology fan, like, people say we are going to enter the age of Aquarius, but like, if you think about it logically, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the planet, and Uranus relates to technologies, to fast movement, to futuristic things. And when was the moment where futuristic things have started? It was in the Industrial Revolution. The progress in technology, in things related to electricity, because electricity is related to Uranus, then we must conclude that the age of Aquarius actually started in the Industrial Revolution. around that time, and it's not something that's coming soon. What's coming soon is more like the age of Pluto, death and rebirth, transformation. That's why we are having those diseases, those wars looming, the sun getting stronger. Things will fall and reborn better. And we also do that more emotionally, mentally, physically. We are always changing and we must adapt to the circumstances. And the best way for us to do that is by having more awareness about what's going on. And always remember the foundations that led us here. And we as a society, we forgot that. Because when it comes to survival, we forgot how to survive by ourselves. We don't know that. This video tells you what to do with that knowledge. How to get water, how to get food and survive by yourself without being attached to the machine that keeps you alive, that is technology right now. So I hope this video serves you well, and other than that, I don't want you to just reflect on this. I want you to take action, because I don't know how things will be in 10 years from now, or maybe even 5, like I don't know. And I know for many people it may be hard to take action because there's so many things going on, like we have our lives, busy lives, and even though we are trying to get the resources, the money and stuff like that to buy food and survive in the now, we must also be aware about the potential futures of the humanity. So I'd say you must get ready at some degree for something, for by knowing the foundations of life. And if you know the foundations of life and start aligning with the version of yourself that knows and does something about it, then in case something goes down and things collapse, then you'll be on the leading edge of the revolution, let's call it that way. You'll be one of the few people who will know what to do. And I would like everyone to know these things because it's really important. Like, why we do these things. Always remember the why. And always remember where we came from. Because if we forget where we came from, we lose track of the things. And we end up in a destination we don't want to get. So keep this in mind and do something about it, because I know you care. So act accordingly. Peace. See ya.